Here it is. The return to glory.
A phone rings on the morning of June 23, 2026. On the other end is Brian Rolapp, the man now running the PGA Tour. On the other end of that call is Rory McIlroy, the sport's loudest, angriest critic of everything Rolap is about to announce. Nobody outside that conversation knows exactly what was said, but by that evening, the golfer who spent a week tearing this plan apart in front of live cameras is suddenly calling it a positive step forward. Something happened on that call, and the question every golf fan is asking right now is simple: what did it take to buy Rory McIlroy's silence? To understand how we got here, you have to rewind 7 days to a press room at Shinnecock Hills during the US Open. McIlroy is asked about the tour's new two-tire system, and he doesn't hedge. He says the proposed second tier is nothing more than a dressed-up minor league event. He singles out the Canadian Open, a tournament with over a century of history, and says it doesn't belong anywhere near that lower tier. It's blunt, it's public, and it's exactly the kind of comment that can blow up months of quiet negotiation. And then, 7 days later, that same man stands behind the plan he just torched. But to really understand the tension in that phone call, you need to go back further, to the man who set this collision course in motion in the first place. Brian Rolapp did not come up through golf. He spent over 2 decades inside the NFL, one of the most ruthlessly profitable sports operations on the planet, before the PGA Tour handed him the keys in the summer of 2025. And just months later, the Tour's board confirmed he'd take over as full commissioner, closing the book on a 10-year era. From his very first appearance in front of the media, Rolap made it clear he wasn't there to tinker. He wanted total transformation, built on 3 words: parity, scarcity, simplicity. And he had the numbers to justify it. He laid out a sports media landscape worth $30 billion, with the NFL already swallowing $12 billion of it and openly planning to double that number. His message to golf was blunt: if you're not the NFL, you'd better get your house in order, fast. And the timing could not have been more dangerous or more perfect, depending on which side you were standing on. The PGA Tour had just crawled out of a brutal war with LIV Golf, the Saudi-backed rival league. Then, almost overnight, LIV's funding pipeline dried up, leaving that entire operation scrambling for a few $100 million just to survive another season. Meanwhile, outside investors had already pumped $1.5 billion into the PGA Tour, with more on the table. And those investors don't wait patiently. They want returns. Rolap was the man brought in to deliver them. So he built a committee. 9 people, chaired by Tiger Woods himself, mixing current players with hardened business minds from outside golf entirely, men who'd run energy companies, professional sports franchises, and championship-star baseball teams. On paper, it looked like unity. Behind closed doors, it was anything but. Reports leaked out that certain committee members fought tooth and nail throughout the process, worried the whole plan would gut opportunities for everyday tour players. Even Rolap admitted there was friction and called that friction progress. And Tiger Woods was carrying his own storm into that room. Just months before the announcement, he'd been arrested on a DUI charge and disappeared from public view entirely. The June 23rd unveiling would be his first appearance since. He stood up, introduced Rolap, and insisted this was never about any single player. It was about hard conversations for the good of the sport. Then came the plan itself. Starting in 2028, the PGA Tour splits in 2. At the top, a championship series, 23 or 24 events, minimum purses of $20 million, no exemptions, only the very best in the world. Below it, a challenger series, smaller purses, larger fields, running at the exact same time. And connecting the two, something golf has never had before: real promotion and relegation, borrowed directly from European football, where teams rise and fall based on performance alone. Win enough down below, and you punch your ticket up top. It sounded bold. It sounded modern. And it sounded, to Rory McIlroy, like a death sentence for the tournaments he loved, which is exactly what he said out loud on live television 1 week before the announcement. So when Rolap finally unveiled the plan, every camera in the room turned toward the McIlroy question. And Rolap didn't dodge it. He confirmed he'd spoken to Rory that very day. Then he delivered his counter: almost like a rebuttal aimed directly at the Korn Ferry insult still hanging in the air, insisting the new second tier would keep recognizable venues, healthy prize money, and largely the same players fans already knew, nothing like a developmental circuit at all. Hours later, McIlroy's statement dropped. Gone was the outrage. In its place, praise, calling it a positive step, celebrating a new commitment to elevating historic international tournaments, saying the sport was finally putting fans first. And that's when the internet turned on him. Commentators pointed out that the second tier still looked functionally identical to what he'd trashed a week earlier. Others noticed something even more damning. That same week, McIlroy skipped yet another signature tournament, his third no-show of the season, while publicly praising a system built on the promise that stars would always show up. But underneath the McIlroy drama sits a much bigger, much quieter casualty, the tournaments themselves. Take the Canadian Open, one of the oldest events in professional golf, a tournament McIlroy won twice himself. Under this new structure, it faces an impossible choice. Join the top tier, and it needs to find nearly $50 million in sponsorship while locking out almost every Canadian player in the field. Drop to the lower tier, and it keeps its local stars but loses every marquee name. There may be a third path, a proposed international series, but right now, that's nothing more than a concept on paper. Scotland's biggest open faces the same squeeze. Hawaii already lost both of its events entirely, and under one particularly brutal rule, top-tier stars will be legally barred from playing in lower-tier events, even tournaments in their own hometowns that they've supported for years. So the plan moves forward, with roughly 15 top-tier slots still unclaimed and every sponsor in golf fighting over them. Major broadcast and international partnerships are set to expire within the next year, with no clear resolution yet. And looming over all of it is the one question nobody can answer with certainty: can a sport built on fiercely independent contractors actually be run like a football league, with a commissioner calling the shots? One former Ryder Cup player doesn't think so, pointing out that the game's biggest stars have always played on their own terms, picking and choosing when to show up. Brian Rolapp is betting he can be the one to change that. And Rory McIlroy, the man whose fiery words became the plan's biggest headline, is betting his sudden reversal won't follow him the way that one Korn Ferry comment already has. Because right now, the loudest voice in golf just went silent at the exact moment the entire sport was watching.